The 7 key checks on SSAS. My guess is that you're watching this video because you want the control over your wealth that a SSAS would give you, and you also want to feel certain about your future and confident that you're building a legacy. We get that. But we also understand what might be getting in the way of you having that. There's a lot of confusing information out there in the SSAS world, and no shortage of people offering to help you. The problem is, it can feel overwhelming. Who do you trust? And where do you start? At WealthBuilders, we believe building a SSAS that helps you achieve your financial goals shouldn't be so hard. We feel that the right start to your SSAS journey is the most important factor in its long-term success, and that there are some important things to do. In our opinion, a trustee who builds from a solid base of knowledge and skill, combined with having the right strategic plans, guidance and connections, will be most successful. SSAS is incredibly empowering if done well, but with real dangers if you get it wrong. Google might be a fantastic source of data, but it has no idea who you are, what you want, and what your unique plans are. What you need is somebody who can understand your plans and help build something you-focused. We've learned how to do this best by guiding hundreds of business owners through our simple 7-step process, providing them with the knowledge, support and clarity they needed to hit their SSAS and business goals. We've learned a lot from that, and so want to help you with the right questions to ask about SSAS. And there are just 7 in total. Our 7 checks on SSAS. WealthBuilders are an impartial and trusted SSAS guide, and we're confident that this will help you explore SSAS, whether you're new to it or not, researching on your own or speaking with others. So let's start with question 1. Question 1. What SSAS education are you getting? The penalties and pitfalls for getting it wrong in SSAS are pretty painful to say the least. It's a little-known fact that the SSAS regulator insists all trustees have an obligation to understand their role and responsibilities and have a basic knowledge of the rules and risks regarding their strategy, at least. That regulator is called the TPR. Another little-known fact is that the TPR say that by law, trustees must have gained this knowledge within 6 months of starting their role. Education helps avoid getting things wrong, and we all understand how valuable it is, but many people just don't know where to go. A SSAS education will grow your knowledge, your view of what's possible, and help you understand the best options available and those that aren't, ultimately helping to keep you safe. It will also save you lots of time. So, what SSAS education is available? Well, firstly, there's the TPR's Trustee Toolkit. It's free, and it's created by the SSAS regulator. It'll really help you understand more about general pension admin and some general things about trusteeship. We strongly suggest you check it out. The problem with the toolkit for SSAS trustees is that it doesn't mention SSAS at all, and so of course it certainly won't teach you what one can do, the tools available, or how to be a great SSAS trustee. So on balance, this isn't likely to give you all you need. You could also go direct to the source of all pension rules, the Pension Tax Manual, or PTM, from HMRC. If you're a qualified tax or legal expert, or you're highly skilled at reading legislation, then this might be the best route. But if you don't fancy the idea of reading thousands of pages of quite complex legal jargon, or you don't have that time, then that probably won't work well either. Our view on the best SSAS education is that it should translate complicated pension jargon and legal nonsense into business owners' language. It should be something that gives a good mix of the following. First, a clear understanding of the SSAS rules, explained in a way that means you don't have to be a pension technical expert to understand them. Next, teaching how and what due diligence to do, giving you a clear path to follow and the key areas to probe when doing your DD. Thirdly, expanding your strategic thinking by showing you more than one option, win or way of achieving something, and then helping you assess the pros and cons clearly, enabling you to narrow down the choices you have in real life. Fourth, be accessible and available whenever you need it. Finally, give the opportunity to speak with an expert to help talk it through and sense-check your understanding. The best SSAS education will include all these things, giving you the tools to allow you to choose the right way. We believe an educated trustee is an empowered trustee, and gaining the right knowledge from the beginning will fast-track and really boost your journey. Question 2. What support will you be getting? There's no doubt that getting the right guidance from people who've already walked the path you want to will add real benefit, and that great guides can add enormous value. Choosing the right SSAS setup for you is important, and with so many SSAS service providers, it's difficult to know who's best to work with. We cover this in more detail later. Creating a plan with you in mind and having someone who can help you check it'll work has huge value too. So, what support will you be getting? We believe that having a SSAS guide means you have somebody that you can ask any kind of question to. They'd act as a sounding board for your ideas, but also challenge your thinking and give you new ideas when they feel it would benefit you. All of this will expand your views, understanding, and knowledge. We fundamentally believe that having a SSAS guide will be one of the biggest influences on how successful you'll be and will make an incredible difference to how you start off, and so of course positively influence the rest of your journey. Two great minds thinking together is always more powerful than one, so when you're thinking about support, do consider these important things. To start, do you think you can get the most from your SSAS journey without calling on someone to guide you? Complex things in life are made much easier with the right support. If speaking with others, ask about their SSAS background and experience, and try to understand what their catalyst was and is for SSAS and helping you. What guidance, planning and support can you call on, and where will you find it? If speaking to someone else, how will they offer this to you? Planning out your strategy based on your business and investment goals, and then checking it can actually work, is one of the keys to a successful SSAS. How will you map out the key steps in your journey and tie these things together so that it's clear and simple? Are you able to understand how to select the right professional SSAS trustee and administration connections to suit your plan and the investments you want to consider? Understanding this is one of the most important parts of your journey. Can someone else make a connection to a professional trustee? And if so, what does the trustee solution look like? Financial advice can be very important, and in some cases, a legal obligation. How will you locate a SSAS-savvy financial advisor if necessary? Finally, to move funds into your SSAS, you will need to tackle the provider documents and questionnaires that need careful completion. They can be very tricky. If you don't choose to take guidance, how will you navigate these documents? Having a SSAS guide who can cover all these areas will positively influence your journey whilst opening your mind to new thoughts and options and help you think about things differently. Question 3. How will you make trusted connections? A significant part of a successful SSAS journey would be connecting to the right people at the right time. Trusted guides might be able to provide trusted connections. If you don't know, or they can't help, then in particular, there are 3 connections you'll need to consider. 1. The right administration and trustee professionals to help formally apply for and then operate your SSAS. 2. The best SSAS-savvy tax, legal, financial and educational professionals available to give you clear advice and support centered around you and your business when needed. 3. Providers of opportunities that can be trusted and have proven track records. How will you make trusted connections? From the beginning of the SSAS journey at least, the right trustee administrator should be the first thing to consider. You might find the right connection by going to networking and professional events and reading brochures and websites, though that can be very time-consuming. Great connections come in many forms, not just professionals. For example, being able to tap into the experiences, tips and ideas of others that have been through the SSAS journey and learned the same things that you want to. Can you find somewhere to tap into these people? If speaking to others about being a SSAS guide, Remember to ask about the connections they can help you with and are what we call SSAS savvy and SSAS friendly. Question 4. What about due diligence? Due diligence is about the most important thing a SSAS trustee can do. It's actually the responsibility of all SSAS trustees, not just the professional one in the background. As the driver behind your SSAS, it should always be you deciding how and where you want to invest, what you expect from the people you invest in, and what criteria they need to meet. Choosing a ready-made SSAS with ready-made investment solutions is really dangerous. But big alarm bells should go off if you're being pushed ready-made investment opportunities by the SSAS administrator or professional trustee, and this should be avoided at all costs. Your administrator and trustee should be impartial, with no agenda for how and where you invest. Sadly, people do lose money when investing without being really careful to flag this important warning sign. So, what about due diligence? Not everyone has the skill to do due diligence, but it can be taught. Not everyone wants to learn it, of course, and that means entrusting someone else to do that essential job if you can't. Where do you go to find out just what due diligence you should be doing? How do you know you're really asking the right questions? Being taught the fundamentals of due diligence is a skill you can use for the rest of your life. In other words, understanding what you need to know and at least the key questions you ask will be invaluable. Unfortunately, due diligence isn't something you can Google an answer for. It usually comes from calling on somebody else's experience, eye for detail, and strong skill in probing and questioning to teach you. It's a professional skill you'd call on, and so most likely part of the skill a trusted guide would teach you, giving you that invaluable ability for life. If you're working with somebody as a guide, ask them if they'll share a comprehensive system to the right questions to ask and the best diligence techniques. Can they also help to introduce you to somebody impartial to take a look and give you honest and clear feedback about the risks and the financials? Remember too that due diligence isn't just about having a professional trustee check whether your investment meets the tax rules. WealthBuilders teach that there are 3 P's to great due diligence: the people, the project, and the pension rules. Your professional trustee can help you with the pension rules, but as we covered in the first question on education, having at least some knowledge means you'll spend much less time or money if you already know how and where you can invest. The people and project diligence really comes down to knowing what to ask and being able to do a deep dive with any opportunity or person you meet. And having someone who can help you work out the right questions to ask at the beginning is so valuable. This is where calling on a trusted guide coupled with education and a great due diligence tool can really help to arm you with the right questions, give you clarity on what you simply must know, and, where necessary, connect you to someone who can do the digging if you can't. In truth, there isn't a substitute for learning a great due diligence process or being able to tap into the quality of someone impartial. Question 5. Are you taking guided action? This question is really simple. We believe that before taking action, you should always assess the previous 4 steps or questions, which are checking your education, taking support, using trusted connections, and doing great due diligence before ever making an important decision. We teach this through something we call the Wheel of Wealth. If you follow those 4 important steps, that means you're taking guided action with a diligent process. So, are you taking guided action? When it comes to making investments, it's absolutely critical you have the education to understand it, the support and connections to help you assess it, and the due diligence skill and expertise available to really get under the skin of it before you ever risk your pension money. Before you think about making investments, we really feel strongly that having these 4 things covered is the only way to be certain you're as safe as can be. Very simply, that's taking guided action. Question 6. Do you have a restrictive investment mandate? This question goes to the heart of what we genuinely believe is flawed with so many SSAS trustees administrator services. what we call the restrictive investment mandate. In other words, they restrict your choice of how and what you can invest in based on their preferences, not yours. On the face of it, SSAS is an incredibly flexible and empowering tool for business owners, but the tool is only as powerful as the person in control of it. More often than not, that's your professional trustee and not you, unless you're careful about how you set up. We take the approach that for the right people, restrictive mandates that act as roadblocks are just wrong. People who have invested in their SSAS knowledge and education should be able to invest within the rules how they wish, but being able to call on the expert guidance of an impartial trustee to help them understand the challenges and risks, and if it's possible to overcome them. All professional trustees have a job, which is to protect you from the tax penalties, but some can make decisions that remove or ignore your ability, skill, and due diligence altogether, leading to restrictions on what you can do. That can cause severe problems to your plans. This is one of the biggest causes of frustration for skilled and knowledgeable people who get stuck behind the mandate of a trustee who doesn't share their views. Lots of investments in SSAS fall somewhere in the grey of the tax rules, even seemingly innocent ones like commercial property. That doesn't mean they can't be done, but simply that there is a potential for tax risk danger on a scale, depending on what you're doing. In fact, about the only thing that has absolutely no potential for tax risk is investing in stock market collective funds. The real challenge is that from day one, you're very unlikely to know exactly what you want to do, and even if you do, this often changes over time as your skill and knowledge grows. Without a guide, you might be unclear about your plan, and that makes choosing the right trustee much harder. So, do you have a restrictive mandate? You can easily spend many hours studying the mandates of several dozen trustees, but unless you know exactly what you'll do now and in the future too, how do you know which is best? When exploring any SSAS trustee administrator, it's so important to question whether there's a restrictive mandate. In nearly all cases there is one, and in that case, you must be careful to find one that will fit your needs. Wherever possible, it's best to find a setup with no restrictive mandate at all, coupled with great impartial trustee guidance to ensure you still steer clear of danger. That's a hugely different offering altogether. If you're speaking to others about choosing for you, be clear to ask them the same thing. It's possible to change your trustee, but just like changing your accountant, it involves paperwork, time, building a new relationship, and almost certainly some delays and probably some frustration. Choosing the right connection from day one avoids all that. Finally, when you're asking these good questions, be careful to understand exactly what the setup looks like. Some, called a practitioner service, don't come with a professional trustee at all, meaning you alone have to make the decisions. It's just admin, and all of the risk and responsibility sits with you and your company. And for most people, that's too risky and dangerous without much more experience. Question 7. What are the costs? Nobody wants to be ripped off, which makes this final question so common. Being asked to pay fees may make you feel uncertain unless you're clear on the value. This final question in our 7 checks on SSAS has a direct connection back to all 6 questions we've covered, and we'll explain why in a moment. When working out whether to pay a fee, we'd suggest that you always weigh up the cost with what the end result looks like for you. Does it achieve what you're looking for? And is it focused on your journey and outcomes? Is it clear what they are and what you get? So, what are the costs? In broad terms, there are 2 main costs you'll probably know about and 1 you might not think about. SSAS costs. SSAS trustee and admin fees are first. People often get frustrated trying to understand SSAS fees. The problem is that nearly all SSAS administrators have a fee menu, and they're all different. You also have to factor in that not all trustee administrators are the same. Think about the restrictive investment mandate. Very often, there are multiple layers of cost, most commonly starting with a per trustee annual cost, then initial costs and additional ongoing fees per investment you make. Some companies will even use time-costed work, which means there's almost no real way of understanding how much you'll pay and making it very difficult to know your total costs over time or control them. Be careful to understand the fees of any administrative solution you look at. At the same time, do remember to check whether the solution gives you the highest level of skill and support, or whether you are taking the risks here. Be mindful of a solution that seems very cheap, and if you're doing SSAS on your own, you'd be best to spend time studying the fee schedule. Remember that most administrators have a per trustee, per investment annual cost, with bolt-ons to start the investment too, so you need to take all of these things into account when costing this out. The best solution to this problem for many may be to locate an option where the fees are transparent, clear, and above all simple, such as a single fee that covers all of your activity. That's likely to give you huge peace of mind if fees are a key factor. The right support. The second cost might be the fee you pay for education, impartial support, access to great connections, and the benefits that come with all of that. We just simply suggest going back to watch the first 6 questions all over again, and then use this when you're speaking to anyone about SSAS. We suggest you'd think about whether spending time with someone who's an expert on SSAS will actually save you money and add huge value to your journey here, rather than just being a cost. Remember to download our free 7 Checks to SSAS tick list to make checking any support much easier. The cost of getting it wrong. On to our final point on costs. It's more difficult to evaluate, but could be the most important question where cost is concerned. What's the cost of doing it wrong? This cost could easily be much higher than any fee you'll pay for the right SSAS guidance. Getting things wrong in SSAS can be financially devastating. Likewise, the lack of the right actions can have your money sat in a bank account doing nothing. If you struggle to get started, then your money is going backwards in real terms, and it's so easy to start spiralling into a state of unease, perhaps then onto a little panic as you feel like you should be getting the money out there, putting more pressure on yourself. If you're not careful, the worst thing can happen. You just settle for the first available investment that you come across, and it's easy to let the pressure you're putting on yourself make you choose something you might not otherwise. It's very easy to invest in something that isn't a secure home for your money, or in your haste you rush through and even miss proper diligence. It's only later you find that getting your money back suddenly isn't looking so promising. Sometimes the impact of this isn't felt for months or longer, but it's still very real. With a proper plan and a guide at your side to help you think clearly and without pressure, this problem doesn't arise. The return of your investment is always the most important ROI. Again, what we're really doing is asking you to think back to the 6 other questions to check that the fees you're paying really give you great value and a great outcome across the 6 main areas that are vital to the most successful SSAS outcome. Wrapping up. We've come to the end of our 7 checks on SSAS, and we hope you found this helpful. We hope you can see that with the right journey and knowledge, SSAS can undoubtedly be the most powerful tool you have as a business owner. If done correctly, it will hugely accelerate the way you build pension wealth and put you on the clearest path to having complete control of your pensions to complete financial independence. However, if done wrong, it's also very easy to not quite get the result you were hoping for, or worse. Starting off slowly and without the right guidance could mean you struggle to see the full benefit and power of SSAS. Simple things like not spotting different opportunities can mean you don't achieve your goals, and perhaps leading to a level of wealth that isn't where you'd like it to be. It's also very easy to make mistakes if you don't know what to look for. Overall, that could be the difference between a fantastic SSAS journey, an average one, or perhaps one you wish you hadn't started. The difference that just a few % of growth a year can make over the rest of your life can be enormous. Part of the key to this successful outcome is to be sure you cover the 7 key areas we've highlighted. A big part, really the most important part, can be finding people you trust and resonate with to help you along the way. We hope that using this tool helps you to do just that, to do your due diligence to explore the various offerings available to you and help you find the right solution and the right people to help. If you're looking to do SSAS on your own, then do bear in mind the value that a great guide can bring to your journey, to supplement you, not replace you. By the way, if you're interested, WealthBuilders has thought very carefully about these questions, and if you'd like our answers to each of the 7 questions, then just let us know. You can also request our guide, which takes you through how we deal with each of the key areas of education, support, connections, due diligence, taking guided actions, an unrestricted investment mandate, and fair and fixed costs. We wish you all the very best on your SSAS journey.